Welcome to Metro Talk. I'm Kent Shuffle. Thanks for being with us. Pat Gowan is here. Pat's one of the editors with the Post-Dispatch. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, Kent.
And Jim Schrader's alongside. Jim's the publisher of the Telegraph. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, Kent.
Jim, two Madison County parents are suing Facebook. They're saying that their teenagers' liking clicks are driving advertising, and their suit claims that the minors' names and pictures are being used without parental approval. Should Facebook be changing the way that it operates?
Well, they haven't so far, and this is not the first of these types of lawsuits. For those that may not be Facebookers, I think is the terminology that they use now. If you click on a like button, for example, you like the Telegraph or you like the Post-Dispatch or the Lewis and Clark Community College Facebook pages, you can like those. And basically it shows up as, let's say, a fan of or a friend to the organization. And bands and Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga and Target and I mean all of these places have Facebook pages. And it's kind of bragging rights, I guess, in part, to see how many Facebook fans you can show up with. But I guess somehow or another, Facebook is trying to use those pictures and those likenesses to imply an endorsement of that product. And therefore, an endorsement would be like an advertisement. And apparently, these two mothers are saying they didn't have the permission, parental permission, because this involves minors, to indicate that these minors are willing to advertise a particular product or this particular page. The pages, by the way, are the organizations are not specified to my knowledge in the case. We have a Facebook page for the Telegraph, and we have something like 4,700 fans. And if I go to our Facebook page, it shows me some of the people that are also likers of the Telegraph page, and I don't necessarily know who these people are. Most of them just give a name, first name, like Kent. Well, I don't know necessarily who Kent is, and I guess I could click on that and find out from there. But the point is that these ladies are saying that these faces and likenesses are advertising for these products, and either they want restitution or they want it taken down because they didn't get permission. There are several such lawsuits nationwide. Facebook says just because somebody likes something doesn't necessarily, I guess, mean an endorsement or an ad. It's just saying you liked the page at some point in time. So you're not advocating anything else. One side says if you limit what minors can click on, that changes their free speech rights, so they can say that they do like things or they don't like things. It appears to me that it's kind of a looking for money here. Otherwise, why would it be a class action suit? Okay, surprise, surprise. Looking for some type of compensation here. I could say there has to be some parental responsibility in there somewhere, because if you don't want little Susie liking Facebook pages, maybe little Susie shouldn't have a Facebook page. Maybe she shouldn't have free reign on the computer without you standing over her seeing what she's doing. How it will all shake out, who knows? The other cases that have been filed around the United States are ongoing as well, and these could go on for a long time. It will be interesting to see how it's adjudicated in what is fairly well known as the class action capital of the United States, which is Madison County, as opposed to how it's adjudicated in other states.
Pat, a couple of Madison County parents are suing Facebook over the liking button, the liking clicks. Should Facebook change the way it operates?
Yeah, I'm not really tuned into that generation, not as much as my wife is. So we sat down and had a conversation about this when that thing came up. And
You found out she wouldn't like you?
well, no, my concern was that I said, what happens? These kids have free reign on the internet. What happens when they visit pornographic sites, or they look at things that are grotesquely violent. What happens if they meet up, God forbid, with an online predator who steals their identity or their credit, or who tries to meet them at a motel for some nefarious purpose? I mean, I was worried about these things. Karen said, you're missing the point. Somebody could be using our child's likeness for an advertisement that we didn't even consent to. And of course, it blew me away. I'm thinking all these other concerns, and I wasn't worried about, look, what all are the kids agreeing to in the terms of service? As I understand it, you agree to this when you accept the terms of service for Facebook, something that none of us ever reads. You know, I agree. Every program the kids buy, I agree. Does anyone ever read the terms of service? Do the kids read them? I guarantee the parents don't read the terms of service for the game that the kids click on. My kid, this wasn't so much electronic. My kid accepted a t-shirt at a concert once and filled out a form to get it, and ended up switching our telephone carrier to some company that charged 10 times the rate, and I had to bail us out of that. So a child online can be a hazardous thing. Now, I'm eager to hear what the damages are exactly. If the child willingly agreed to endorse something, how much damage is done by that picture and profile coming up along with the product in some advertising sense? It would surprise me very much. There's an estimate that about 14 million people under the age of 18 may be on the internet. Golly, if you're a class action lawyer and you look at that, you could say, if I could collect $1 for each one of them, that'd be $14 million, $1 for each of them, and a third of it, you know, maybe $5 million for me. And class action law is often sort of predicated on the what's in it for the lawyer. And this looks like, forgive me, lawyers, this looks like one of those kinds of cases to me.
Well, one of the points in the suit, apparently, is the two ladies saying that as minors, as underage adults, that they're not, that they can't be held liable by those terms because they don't have that consent ability because they're not adults. Well, that's going to get a little flimsy too, because I don't know, to me, as I understand it, Facebook has no age requirement. So if you can't consent to the terms, as you say, by clicking on it, then what are you doing with a Facebook page to begin with?
You know, overall, if you're a parent, I ask you this question, the advertising that supports Facebook, your kids want desperately to be on it. Would you rather take the chance of them clicking a like and having their picture show up somewhere, or would you rather pay $5 a month for the service? I imagine most parents would rather take the chance with a click.
What about the parental control? Should there be more of that in this situation?
Probably ought to be more parental control on all of these things. Who knows who the kids are connecting with on Facebook? That's just one of the realities of the digital world that transcends anything going on in Facebook. It essentially suggests that Facebook has done something wrong for which it ought to pay money, but you could argue that what it really suggests is the parents have done something wrong for letting their kids to agree to something they haven't even read or considered. Or maybe the parents have read and considered it. How many parents are going to want to join a class like this in the first place? I have no idea. Right now you've got 2 people complaining.
I suspect that these 2 parents saw the movie The Social Network and saw the last paragraph of the closing credits that said that Facebook is worth, you know, in excess of $25 billion. I suspect there may be some motivation there.
Well, and always a hope of some going away money when you file a lawsuit.
Right.
We need to take a break. We'll have more right after this.
Hi, I'm Audrey LaCasey, and I'm from Alton, Illinois. I love music, and that's why I came to Lewis & Clark. It's been an amazing experience here at Lewis & Clark, working with students that are so talented, coming from all over the area, and they work so hard to follow their dreams. The music faculty at Lewis & Clark they're fantastic, and they're there every step of the way to push you to follow your dreams. One of the unique opportunities that I have had at Lewis & Clark is being able to record my own music with a fellow student here. Being able to record our music has opened doors for us in the music industry. My long-term goal is to finish here at Lewis & Clark and then to transfer to a 4-year school and finish my degree in music performance. I would recommend Lewis & Clark to another student because it is definitely a great place to get started and it can open so many doors for you.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
Watching Metro Talk, I'm Kent Scheffel. Jim Schrader and Pat Gowan are alongside. Pat, Illinois lawmakers have put off any pension reform for the time being. They say they're going to deal with it during the fall veto session. Will we see changes then to the pension systems?
Well, by way of disclosure, I should point out my wife is a vested member of the teachers' retirement system, so I'm speaking with one foot sort of on the bias side of that. I suppose you're probably vested in one of the systems affected as well.
I'm not.
So Jim will get his chance to set it straight. When we didn't pay vendors, let's say you're a pharmacist and you fill prescriptions on Medicaid and the state promised to pay you a certain amount of money. Okay, and in good faith, you filled the prescriptions and sent the state a bill, and in bad faith, the state said, well, we don't have any money to pay you. Did the state come back at you and say, no, you got to cut the bill? You got to accept less money for it? No, in fact, what the state's done is they're paying you interest until they get around to paying you. They're paying you interest on the money like they borrowed it from you, which is in effect what they did, and which would probably be a reasonable thing to do. As a taxpayer, it's what I think they should do. To me, it's a very similar situation to an employee. When you say, okay, if you work for a certain amount of money, then we will provide a pension of a certain amount of money. So you do your part up front, and then in the end they say, no, you know what, we spent the money for something else, so you're out of luck, you got to pay more for it now. I think the state ought to be lucky that the people in the retirement funds aren't charging the state interest for the amount that they underfunded the retirement funds in the first place. We have a legislature that has flouted the Constitution over and over again. We're supposed to have a balanced budget. We do it with winks and nods. We defer money. We defer debt year to year. There's not a balanced budget. It's certainly not a balanced budget when you're underfunding the pensions to the point that no one can actually tell how badly underfunded they are. $86 billion, they say. But that's if everybody involved wanted all their money right now, which never really happens. Some of the unions affected by this are saying we don't really know how much underfunded we are until you catch it up, and it depends on which method you use. The union my wife is in, the Illinois Education Association, says, you know, we might consider a larger contribution down the line, but you got to prove to us first it's in as bad a shape as you say. So there are a lot of loose ends dangling, a lot of uncertainty, but as a matter of general principle, it seems to me that the state made an obligation to these people just like it made to the pharmacists in my example, and that they owe the money they owe. And if that's not enough, there's a provision in the Illinois Constitution that says you cannot change the terms of those benefits. It's in the Constitution. If you pass the bill, what's going to happen is the recipients of this are going to sue and are going to win because the language in the Constitution is absolutely plain. So if you want to change the benefits in midstream, you're also going to have a constitutional amendment. I think that's absolutely plain. Are the legislators willing in the veto session in the fall and into next year, are they willing to go to war with their own unions with elections looming? I mean, that's what a lot of this was about to begin with, was diverting money so we could get more votes for ourselves. It's all coming home, not just on the legislators that have done this in recent years. It's coming home to roost for legislators long gone who've been doing this for a long time.
Jim, the lawmakers have put off any serious pension reform for now. They say they're going to deal with it in the fall veto session. Will there be the need to pay more when that fall veto session's over?
Well, they'll deal with it all right by making no changes in it, but they'll just kind of pass it over. It would seem to me that the people that are in the pension program now, and as Pat said, have been promised a certain amount of pension to expect based on their years of service, should be left alone. It might make sense to consider a two-tiered program, which, as Pat kind of indicated, the most of the unions are against.
But which we now have.
But which we now have to a certain degree, that new people coming in and joining the program could be set up based on a separate set of parameters, a separate funding formula for new people coming in. That's not uncommon from the days when Journal Register Company owned the Telegraph, or prior to that, the Cowleys and McAdams owning the Telegraph. Things change when circumstances change or when ownership changes. In this particular case, it could change based on the physical responsibility of the state. I suspect that some things changed when Lee Enterprises purchased the Post-Dispatch from Pulitzer. So I could see a second tier or a third tier type of pension funding. The folks that are owed what they're owed, that's fodder for a lawsuit that is not winnable to the state. You use the term 86 billion, that's if everybody wanted their money right now. I think we rank 49th out of 50 states on percentage of funded pension liability, because we're missing the mark by millions of dollars. I think it's like 45 or 50 billion dollars per year right now that they are underfunded. Total liability would be 86 billion if everybody walked in and said it made my money right now. New hires, you'll be set up under a new program. These are your terms of hire on a go-forward basis. You can accept it or reject it. That's going to take a fight with the unions, and I'm not sure that the Democrats in Springfield are ready for that fight. But they're sure not ready for the fight that it would cause if they tried to change the pension for existing ASME and other union employees.
Might I suggest too that in the short term this is going to drive up costs, because you're going to have unions who are now going to tell their members you can't trust the back end promises, so get your money up front. And you're going to see over a period of time, I think, harder bargaining by the unions for money up front. They're going to want to pay and not pensions, because they're not going to trust the pensions.
And unfortunately, this is not just an Illinois problem. This is going on in counties and municipalities all over the United States, including here in the city of Alton. They ran into a problem a few years ago by underfunding the firefighters' pension. It's not a new problem. It's just the amount of money that we're talking about for the state of Illinois just dwarfs almost everything else. And apparently, the percentage of underfunding dwarfs every other state except one.
We'll have more right after this.
Hello and welcome to the Lewis and Clark Minute. Today we're going to check out the radio broadcasting program in WLCA with Mike Lemons.
Have you ever listened to your favorite radio station or your favorite disc jockey and say, you know, I could do that? Or maybe you're the type of person who says, I could never do something like that. Well, with the help of first-year Mass Comm student John, we're going to show you just how easy it is. Each voice intro starts with talking about the band that just played, and we add a station identifier. Next, you want to offer some information that may be of interest to your audience. And finally, tell the listeners what the next song is, who sings it, followed by another station identifier. John will do one live now.
Silver Sun Pickup Substitution on WLCA. The Big Pink released their debut album called A Brief History of Love. This single is off that album. It's The Big Pink with Dominoes. It's on College Radio's Best 89.9.
This has been your Lewis and Clark Minute.
What's that? I don't know. Something I kind of made. Ooh, what's it do?
What do I do? Well, thanks for asking. I ring my bell and I like to dance. What do I do? Well, thanks for asking.
Ow! Yeah, it still needs a little work.
Anything's possible. Keep thinking. Get started on your own inventions or just play some games at inventnow.org.
Sounds like you could use some Van Gogurt. It's fortified with arch-rich nutrients to improve your math and reading skills. Catch!
Van Gogurt, thanks. So what's the deal with your ear?
Always with the ear, huh?
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit americansforthearts.org.
This is Metro Talk. I'm Kent Shuffle. Jim Schrader's here. Pat Gowan's here. Jim, the Illinois legislature has passed the DREAM Act. That legislation is now on the governor's desk. That bill would provide scholarships for some undocumented immigrants that are in the state. Bottom line is, should the governor sign the bill?
Well, you want to talk about a polarizing way to term what the DREAM Act would do. Is it would provide scholarships for children of undocumented is now the preferable politically correct word. Illegal alien. That is residents of a foreign country that are in the United States illegally. So there's the problem. The state of Illinois keeps running into money problems that we talked about on the earlier question. There was a big move a couple of years ago to eliminate the scholarships that traditionally the House of Representatives and the senators pass out every year because we didn't have funding. So when I first started reading about the DREAM Act, I thought, well, where are they going to come up with this money? They're trying to eliminate those on the other side. Well, the DREAM Act would be privately funded, so you could make donations to it and the state would manage your money. I thought, okay, well, at least it's private donations. But then I thought about how well the Illinois College Fund has been mismanaged over the last few years and how it's actually lost a fairly substantial portion of the principal. I don't know what the state's doing involved in this. If somebody wants to set up a private corporation or a nonprofit to go out and secure monies for scholarships of children or of illegal aliens, the point being is the children can't help that they're here, then let them do that on their own. Let them go file for a nonprofit status and leave the state out of it. I don't know what business the state has in it. We the taxpayers, I suspect, would be hiring the administrators to administer the money to the DREAM Act. At the same time, we can't balance our own budgets, and we can't pay the employees that we have to clean dead animals off the road. So I don't have a problem with the idea of private funding, donating money to educate the children of illegals. That doesn't bother me in the least. I just don't think the state has any business in it.
Pat, should the governor sign the DREAM Act? It would provide scholarships for undocumented children of alien or undocumented immigrants.
Gwinnett City will sign it. Like Jim, I'm absolutely foursquare behind higher education for the kids who are here. Not their fault that they're here under these circumstances. They're not going away anytime soon. The more productive they are in our society, the better off we are as well as they. So that's all a given. But I used to be chairman of the Journalism Foundation of St. Louis, which gave away scholarships to journalism students. It did not occur to me to try to use the Illinois Student Assistance Commission as the conduit by which we should give money. And I suspect that's true of the scholarships that I'll bet are given by the State Medical Society and State Dental Society and the local Moose Lodge. Scholarships are great. Obviously, I put my effort where my mouth is. I was the chairman for 20 years of this thing, which continues without me, by the way, happily. I don't understand why the state needs to be in it either. And if it's logical for this particular purpose, why isn't it logical for all other purposes? That's what mystifies me. That's probably why the Senate vote was fairly close at 61 to 53. I'm sorry. The House vote, anybody knows how many senators we have would say that.
Oh, yeah.
The House vote was 61 to 53.
But it doesn't count as a mistake if you clarify it.
I mean, within 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like the 5-second rule dropping your food on the floor. Except on this floor, when I think we got about a 2-second rule.
Unlike a certain representative that it took him 2 or 3 days to admit that he was sending pictures, but that's a whole other story.
I thought you were going to go down the route of the former governor's trial.
Well, we could do that.
What you read there is not what I meant.
That's right. Go ahead.
Jim, State Senator Kyle McWhorter of Lebanon says he was punched in the chest by Senator Mike Jacobs following a debate on the Senate floor. That's now being investigated. If it appears that Senator Jacobs took a punch, should there be charges filed against him?
Well, so much for the President of the Senate calling on the gentleman from Moline to make a speech. Apparently they were debating the smart grid legislation that is basically allows Ameren and Commonwealth Edison to raise their rates in anticipation of building new technology. They would raise the rates now, and ostensibly part of that rate increase would go for the new infrastructure. Our Senator McCarter pointed out in his debate that former Senator Denny Jacobs, who is Senator Mike Jacobs' father, is a paid lobbyist for Commonwealth Edison. Senator Jacobs apparently took exception with that. And according to Senator McCarter, he approached his spot on the Senate floor, that words were exchanged, and he threw a punch that glanced off and hit Senator McCarter in the chest. McCarter took exceptions with that, as you might well imagine, and involved the Capitol Police. Senator Jacobs tried to blow it off and say, the police are not necessary, and tried to blow it off as just a misunderstanding and, amongst friends. Initially, I think he even denied throwing the punch. What has happened subsequently is the Capitol Police has done their investigation, and they have referred the file to the Sangamon County Prosecutor's Office for consideration of charges. That indicates to me that there's more to it than Senator Jacobs tried to water down. Whether or not it will be filed, or whether or not they're going to have to shake hands in the middle of the Senate floor and call it quits, I don't know. But the fact that the Capitol Police did investigate it and refer it, I think yesterday, to the prosecutor's office indicates to me that Senator Jacobs did indeed strike Senator McCarter on the floor of the Senate.
Pat, if prosecutors can determine that Senator Jacobs punched Senator McCarter, should Senator Jacobs be charged?
If McCarter wants to press charges, he ought to be charged if there's evidence that he did. A missing element, what Jim said, by the way, is the younger Senator Jacobs, whose father is a lobbyist, chairman of the Senate Energy Commission, which passed this bill within minutes, which endorsed it. And that's what McCarter was taking exception to, saying your committee passed this thing in minutes and your dad's a lobbyist for ComEd. That's what ticked off Jacobs to come do whatever happened. Jacobs says he didn't hit him. He says they just argued. So I'm wondering, Jacobs being a Democrat, McCarter being a Republican, whether all the Republicans saw the punch and none of the Democrats did. I'm wondering. I'm making that part of it up. As to the politics, the Capitol Police work for the Secretary of State Jesse White is a Democrat. It now goes to the state's attorney, who's a Republican. There's politics all over this thing. Keep watching.
But there's no politics in fighting on the floor.
That's going to do it for this edition of Metro Talk. Thanks for being with us. Jim Schrader, the publisher of The Telegraph, has been here, along with Pat Gowan, one of the editors with the Post-Dispatch. I'm Kent Scheffel. We'll see you next time.